Hi, everybody. My name is Kimba Garcia.
And I'm Amanda Bell.
I am the owner of RKG Roofing and Solar located here in Dallas, Fort Worth.
And I am the owner of the Amanda Bell Realty Group. We are with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, PenFed Realty, Texas.
Amanda's humble, so she didn't mention this in her intro, but I want to let you guys know for the topic, for the purpose of the topic, that Amanda is actually the number 3 realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Homes in the state of Texas. This girl and her team move a massive amount of real estate a year, and really the priority behind that is that she supports, helps, and educates massive amounts of homeowners inside of our community. And today we are coming to talk to y'all about solar. And the values and the truth about solar. We see a lot of concerns out there in the market, and we just want to hit them head on. For those of you guys that are wondering, is solar right for me? In this video, we do not plan to fluff anything. We are not here to sell anybody. In fact, we are here to just give open, honest education from our specialties, our backgrounds, and just jump into kind of how we got into solar, a little bit more about the truth about it, to try to get rid of some of the misinformation that's happening due to the rapid changes happening in the industry and in the market. Because I don't think that people are out there intentionally spreading misinformation. I think sometimes things just change so fast that people do struggle to keep up. So we wanted to come to you guys live with a live update on the current truth about solar.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love how you started it, the truth about solar, because we hear so many hesitations and concerns around it. The truth to that is that we've got to find a solution for the energy that we need to run off of daily. So everything we use to run and function is based off of energy. The core of it is energy. And if we need that to power our homes and to feed our babies and to do business and to have a job and to run the vehicles and to literally live, then we've just got to find a way to do it that hopefully won't break the bank in the process. Mm-hmm. And not continue to, it's one of those things where do you want to lease your home or do you want to own your home, and what's the difference between that? And I know that a lot of you on here are probably homeowners, so you know the significant weight that carries between leasing it and being a tenant forever versus owning some of your own real estate and having that home ownership. So with that being said, it's very much similar to leasing your energy that provides your home with everything that it needs to literally not rot and die, wither away, if you will, and what it stores inside of it, our bodies, ourselves, right?
I was going to say, girl, to me, not to cut you off there, because I know we're going to get into some of the numbers and leases versus owning and how that pertains to our energy. For me personally, sustainability is really one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to offer solar to the Dallas-Fort Worth community specifically. This is my home. I was born and raised in Fort Worth. I've lived here my entire 33 years of life up until this point. It was just 2 years ago whenever I was first exposed to the volatility of our grid here in the state of Texas, and to the volatility of the energy that protects our homes and our families, the groceries, everything about the way that we live, the way that we even check our groceries out at the grocery store. I'll share with y'all, as a contractor, my husband and I actually worked Winter Storm Erie, which was the big winter freeze. A lot of you guys have heard it called the Texas freeze. It's a named storm. It was one of the largest insurance catastrophes, beating out most hurricanes that we've had in recent years. And it is a named storm. It's called Winter Storm Erie. During Winter Storm Erie, as a contractor, I was not into solar yet. I was just a contractor, for roofs and restorations. We do deal with floods, so that was appropriate. I started having people reaching out to me, and this wasn't about work, guys. This was about people needed help. And I'm going to tell the quick story, but if I tear up, I do. It is what it is. It's very close to my heart, and it's why I got into solar, and that's why I want to share this with you guys really quickly. Within a 48-hour period, I had contracted 56 homeowners that were experiencing freezing conditions. You're talking under 20-degree weather. Their homes had no electricity, and due to that, here in Texas, it's very common for our plumbing pipes to be overhead in our attics because we don't typically have these types of winters for it to be an issue. Well, this year we did. The grid instability caused the grid to go down. Many Texans were without electricity for 14 days. And during that, all of our plumbing lines collapsed and all of our homes got filled with water. You're talking about environments. I'll take my little sister, Kaylee, for example. Her and her family live out in Springtown, Texas, out in a country area. And she was unable to even get her and her children into her truck and get out of her driveway because, she got stuck in the driveway on her way out. She didn't have four-wheel drive. And inside of there, it was 20 degrees. My niece and nephew are under 5 years old. Their carpet is sopping wet, and they have no heater. It was 2 weeks of that and trying to help people get cleaned up, trying to use our four-wheel drive vehicles to get people to safety, that I really started to become aware of the instability that was our grid and the problems that could cause long term. Since then, I'll share with you guys where my home currently sits. I experienced rolling blackouts almost weekly through the summer now for the first time ever. In fact, last Thursday, my home was without electricity from 8 to 11 o'clock for roughly 4 hours. My husband had a diesel race. We were a few hours away from home. One of the times that it happened, my teenager called me and said, "Hey, Mom, we don't have any electricity." And it was over 100 degrees outside that day, right? So for me, I really started looking into solar around sustainability. So when we start talking about solar, it's important to understand that people have different priorities in going solar. For some people, it's cost savings. For some people, it's sustainability. To be able to know that with daylight only backup in a battery, that we have sustainability outside of the grid and our houses don't have to go down, was a huge part for me. Now, with that, it does also save a lot of people money and what Amanda's talking about, buying versus leasing. But I just wanted to stop and really push into the first thing that you said, Amanda, which was really, I think, the huge thing on solar is that has solar always been perfect in the past? No. Have the solar programs been perfect in the past? Absolutely not. Are we growing towards a solution that's sustainable for our communities moving forward? I'm with her, and it's why I jumped into solar. I do absolutely believe that we have to start doing that. We have to start saying, hey, we're not just going to be consumers, but we're going to be producers, because supply and demand is going to do two things. It's going to make it where there's not enough supply to go around, sustainability. Demand is going to start driving the cost up, which we're already seeing happen significantly in the market that we're navigating right now.
Yeah, significantly. I'll give you guys an example. The current home that my husband and I live in is not large. In fact, it was supposed to be our empty nester home. So we were forcing the kids to live in it their last few years in high school, and we were just going to hold on to it as our empty nesters home, which I would not recommend as a real estate agent, by the way, because it does get tight and the family gets mad at you. But with that being said, you guys, our energy bill in, say, 2019, today we're in 2022, our energy bill in 2019 on the 2,200 square foot space that we needed to air condition every day per month, the high was close to $300. The high was close to $300. So maybe in like June through August, we were around that $300 mark. That was perfect. That's what we signed up for. We were in for it. Now, fast forward to 2022 from 2019, so you're about 4 years in. What we paid this last July was a $1,000 energy bill. So if that goes to show that, you can, us as homeowners, we can go ahead and secure our rate at X percent per kilowatt hour, right? X cents per kilowatt hour. And that number is just always climbing. We can usually lock that in for it could be fixed for 1 year, right? It stays at that price for 12 months or whatever agreement you come to with the energy company. Unfortunately, when that time is up, they usually do raise the fee, similar to, that's where I was giving you guys the example of owning your home versus leasing your home. Your rent is going to go up usually after your 12-month note is out. So is your energy. So the benefit of owning it, if you're a numbers person and long-term numbers-wise, that's something that might motivate you. Man, owning your energy is another great reason why I do believe in it. It's also why I started to look into it. One, we needed it, sustainability. My family needs to have utilities. We don't need to be out of energy and all of our food in the refrigerators go old and my kids can't eat, right? And in a winter storm, like Kimbo was sharing with you guys, man, we couldn't even get to a grocery store that was open. If any of them were open, they weren't open, you know. So then your food is going bad over the 2 weeks because you don't have utilities to keep your energy's off. You have nothing to keep your food good unless you have non-perishables to last you and a family of 5 for 2 weeks. You're out. You're SOL, and that's scary. So it's not just those real life instances of the rolling blackouts that have now come into DFW, Texas, and all the things. It's the truth behind what else are you going to do? And if we need to learn about solar, then by golly, we'll learn about solar. Okay, because Amanda Bell was not a fan. That's the truth. Solar to Amanda Bell in 2019, if you were a client or a past client and you called and asked me, hey, I've got a solar rep in front of my house, should I sign up? I probably told you no. You didn't need it at the time. The truth is if I could go back and tell you to go ahead and buy it today, because it likely was more affordable in 2019 than it is today in 2022, I would. The other side to the truth is even if you did a transaction in 2019 to 2022 with solar, it was probably going to be sticky and nasty and you feel like you made a mistake. It's not going to feel that way again if you get solar in today's market and you have somebody that's educated in it and knows how to move the pieces appropriately. So after speaking to a few appraisers, the solar makes sense to go on your home in specific scenarios. So the one thing that I like to compare it to right now is when you call your real estate agent and you say, hey, I hope you're doing this, by the way. I hope you're calling a professional that's experienced in the space that you're about to work on, because your home is the largest asset that most of us purchase ever is real estate. And with that being said, you need to take care of it and understand where you're moving the dollars in your home, because that's exactly what you're doing. Your home is worth so much, and the second you do something to it, you're playing with the dollars in your home. And so if you're calling to ask if you're putting a pool in, does it make sense? Every single time the answer is it depends. Every single time. And if somebody says yes or no right off the bat, I personally would not be taking that information and running with it. If they straight up say yes or straight up say no, man, they're not educated enough. They don't know. And I'm going to be quite frank there.
That's what I tell people about solar too. They're like, well, everybody has all these questions about solar for me. And I hate to give generic answers, but I also hate to lie to people. I just want to tell you the truth about solar. And the best way for me to tell you the truth about solar is it depends. So I really need to see your usage. I need to see your roof. We need to know the area that your home's in. And real quick, Amanda, if we could, because there's two, when we're talking about the finances around solar, would you agree there's kind of two pieces to that? There's the month to month, and then there's the equity in the house and what happens when we sell, which you being such a top realtor here in the state of Texas have so much value to give everybody on. And I want to jump quick into that. I want to go back really quick to the locking in the price. What does that mean? For anybody that maybe heard you say, if I could have locked in the price.
Yep.
What does that look like? So right now in DFW, our average kilowatt price that I'm seeing is roughly 13 cents per kilowatt on average. You may be like, mine's 11. You may be like, mine's 14. I get it. On average, it's about 13 cents per kilowatt. I have sold solar in California. I will share with y'all that in California, their average cost per kilowatt is 28 cents per kilowatt. And what we're seeing is Texas chasing California when it comes to that because of supply and demand, all the communities that we have popping up and all the people that we have moving to Texas that are putting further pressure on our utility grid every single day. So what we're able to do, and Amanda, I'll ask you the question because we've both been driving long enough by now. So if we could rewind back to early 2000s or so and gas is like $2 a gallon, man. And I'm like, hey, girl, I can lock you in. So as gas continues to rise and rise and rise, or whatever that looks like, we're able to lock you into $2 a gallon. You would absolutely say yes.
Yes.
You would absolutely say yes. And that is the value that we have with solar, is to be able to say, hey, we're going to lock you in. We know that rates are going to continue to climb because they already do 4 to 8% a year on average. We see that just going from 4 to 8% to like straight up right now in the market that we're navigating in. But that's one of the benefits that a lot of homeowners see, is that they are able to lock in their rate by the kilowatt. And then they're able to take the $300 a month that they used to pay to the utility company to rent their energy from the utility company. They're able to put back into almost, on every proposal I've done so far, Amanda, it's been almost dollar for dollar equity back into the home. of what are we paying for the system. In fact, I actually had a homeowner that was positive $7,000 by the time we accounted in her tax credit and her equity that it was going to add to her home. And I love how you worded that. If you're going to move the money around inside of real estate, understand what you're doing. And I think that a very good comparison that I have for my own home was we did a renovation on the home when we bought it. We bought an older 2000s home. We did a beautiful RKG style renovation on the inside of it. I spent about $75,000 on that renovation, but I didn't actually spend shit.
Yep.
What I did is I moved the money from liquid in the bank to equity inside of my home, and I can go down and I can pull that back out.
Boom.
Right? So there's a few pieces to that here. If we're able to lock in the rate, our goal is to always do a bill swap that's where we like to try to get you, right? Is to where you're locking in a rate and your monthly expenses go down or stay around the same. The cost savings really comes for the future that you're not being taxed on or the rates that are not having. And then people say you've probably heard solar is free. What I just explained is why some people word it that way. It's not because you're not buying the system. It's because the equity that the system adds and the tax credit that you have usually add up to be the same or less than you paid for the overall system. So what you got is 100% of the money that you spent, and what you got rid of is a monthly liability and a utility bill that you no longer have to pay.
Yeah, boom. And I think it's beautiful. I think one of the biggest questions that I get or concerns that I hear being in real estate is, well, I heard the resale sucks after I put solar on my home.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, man, because you did it in 2019, remember?
So Amanda, on that, I'm going to do an Amanda interview now, okay?
Yeah.
So we've gotten a little bit of that. I guess before we jump into the Amanda interview, because I actually have some questions.
Yeah.
I have some questions for you.
I'm excited.
That I waited till right now to ask you so that it could just be real, live, and organic, right? Before we jump into that, guys,
Yep.
right now I just want you to think about, where do you get your energy? Let's realistically think about where it came from. Everybody knows the telephone poles on the side of the road. We all see the power line that strings across our streets and all the things, right? And then you see the transformer box on the side of it. You know exactly the transformer box because every single one of you have watched one blow up. Every single one of you have seen a power line go down into the street. And whenever I say sustainability, it comes down to something that Amanda and I talk about inside of our coaching business all the time, but we call it KISS IT. Keep it stupid simple. And that's what I love about solar is, man, when you know where you get your energy from in solar, it comes from the sun, it goes into the panel, it goes into an inverter on your own home, and it goes directly back in to be able to power and cycle the home. So it doesn't have to travel. It doesn't have to be involved in all these volatile obstacles that it's having to go through to get to your home and to your family. It's simplistically happening through the sun's energy, utilizing equipment that you now own, right? So now let's jump into the real estate market and talk a little bit about what this looks like, because let's be fair to everybody with concerns out there and to the realtors that are still, because I know y'all are out there. There's realtors out there right now telling people, I see y'all on Facebook, do not put solar on your home.
I was that realtor, to be fair. I was that realtor up until the education point came. Is the truth, man.
Yeah.
But I was also the realtor that said, do not put a pool in your home. Buy the home that has a pool. I was also that realtor. So the truth is until you know enough to know, you don't know. You're giving what is your honest opinion at the time. And at the time, that's okay. But if you plan on selling real estate and being the experienced professional in the field, then you have to take that for what it is and go get experienced and professional in that piece. And if our clients' concerns right now, if our homeowners' concerns right now are homes with solar on them, whether they're buying one or they're putting solar on it and could possibly be reselling it in the future, then it is up to us as the experienced professional to go get educated in that field. So I'm all about it.
That's what makes you the best real estate agent out there, though, is because you are never set in your ways. You are always like, hey, things are changing. And because I'm going to serve my clients at the highest level, I'm going to go figure out exactly what that looks like. And I don't care if it's against what I believed 2 years ago or not. I'm always going to be moving forward. And that's why really, if you're buying and selling NDFW, you really just need to go with Amanda Bell, because I got to throw that in there, because the truth is, I see a lot of people, and it's nothing against anybody, because you only know what you know until you know differently, of course. But it's where I'm hesitant to make, or it almost like, it's like the chalkboard in my ears when I hear people make blanket statements like you should not install solar, just like you can't say you should buy a pool with a home already in it. There's so many variables and things that a professional real estate agent is able to look at and help a homeowner be able to assess and navigate through that space, which is why I'm grateful to have you on my team to be able to help our solar customers when they are ready to buy or sell, because I think having a real estate agent that is knowledgeable in solar is really the biggest piece to the puzzle. And I would say, would you say, Amanda, in being able to get the equity that you deserve out of the panels comes down to the agent's ability to negotiate that? Or what does that feel like to you?
No, not necessarily, though. If you are the person who's going to play it super close, like on your home personally, I know what the solar looks like on there. I also know where your comps are already sitting for your home. So again, it all depends. But because I know yours specifically, I would say that you are going to need an agent that can absolutely negotiate and hold strong somewhere. But I also think the upper hand with the home, with the sellers that already have panels on their home and then they go to sell the property with panels, is to ensure that you can pay off the panels with some of your proceeds. So at first, when I say that, you naturally picture your dollar amount that you're leaving with being a larger stack. And then I say, well, oh yeah, pay off your solar panels before the new buyer takes possession, and you picture your stack getting smaller. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, and this is where you just have to, it comes with the experience. So if I lose some of you guys, you can always reach out to me afterwards or outside of this video. But the truth is if I come to Kimba, I'm going to use you as the homeowner as the example so we can make it as clear as possible. If I come to you and say, Kimba, with your home, if you throw the panels on, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. Mm-hmm. So it's going to cost you $50,000, sis. When we go to resell your home, I know in your area with the condition of your home and paid off panels is the key part for the appraisers right now, you guys. If it ever changes, I'm always keeping up with the appraisers. And so the appraiser is the guy that puts the value on your home for a mortgage lender to loan on. The appraiser is also the guy that can be a showstopper if for any reason the buyer, your contract with your new buyer is higher than what the appraiser's opinion of the value is. Mm-hmm. Meaning if we have Kimba's house on the market for $700,000 and we know that with that $700,000 price, we are paying off $50,000 towards solar to offer the buyer clean, clear solar, we priced it at $700,000 because we know that they're now giving free utilities to the buyer. Free utilities to the buyer not only makes the home look more attractive to all of the buyers in the marketplace. Raise of hands, show of hands, man, if you want to move into a home where the utilities are already paid for.
Yeah, so you have a mortgage every month. That's cool.
Yeah. So, or you can try, which is what a lot of these homeowners are doing right now. They're saying, no, the buyer has to consume the note, has to assume the note for the solar panels when they buy the home. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. That's the problem that and if you're like, man, that was me. My buyers had to be able to assume the note for the solar panels and it was a shit show, all the things. You're probably right, it was. Because the truth is if you're in a more affordable price point, your buyers are in a more affordable price point, and they usually have the more affordable credit scores.
And then the debt to income.
And they get capped out quickly, all the things. And so the truth is you're putting everybody's back up against the wall. One, you're selling a home that you now own the panels on, but you don't own the home. That's sticky. Two, you're relying on a buyer to be able to take over the note for the panels that you currently own after you close on the home. That's sticky. Three, there's just a lot of sticky pieces to that. Now, can it be done? Absolutely. I literally was on the phone with one of my buyers this morning who has been in his home for a month, and he took over the note on the solar panels on the home for a discounted fee that the sellers paid half, and he took over the other half. Man, that was just part of the negotiations. But the truth is if you can just pay off all the panels, the appraiser is going to give you more money for the panels, because now it's like a free added value. It's not. It's like comparing an asset with a liability. The panels are no longer a liability to the home because they're paid off in full the day of closing. And that's what the appraiser is looking at, is per the day of closing, what does this home offer, right? And
I love that.
You can't say it offers solar panels when in fact it's a debt. The panels are not paid off. It doesn't offer the solar panels. In fact, the solar panel company can come still physically take them off the home if they wanted to. Now they don't, but
so the appraisers right now, Amanda, so I'm understanding it correctly. So the appraisers that we're hearing say, hey, because I'm hearing this all the time. Hey, a lot of the appraisers are not adding equity to the home. And they're not adding equity to the home because it's a liability against the home, and they're not able to view it if it's not structured in the negotiations to say these panels will be paid off the day of closing utilizing the proceeds. What that does is it actually makes the proceeds higher because the appraiser can now add the paid off panel appraisal. I mean, did we just solve that problem you just literally solved that problem, I think, for everybody that had that problem, because so many people are saying the appraiser's not adding any value, and then the buyer's not able to assume. Of course, you can just slide straight into a solar loan and take it over wherever they were at. And what's great is if you can do that, you still locked in the rate. You still got 2006's utilities when you purchase the house, which is great if you're in the position to do both, to buy panels and a home as two separate transactions. But you're saying do it in one transaction and make it part of that, essentially, to where it gets paid off and now the panels are owned outright, and the appraiser will give you the equity when they're able to see it from the perspective of an asset and not a liability.
Boom. Kimba hit it spot on, you guys.
Well, I want to make sure that I just chewed on what she said all the way, because that makes complete sense. And I do think that that's a lot of people's hesitation right now is what's going to happen? I actually just had somebody in my neighborhood. They have a $1,300 a month electric bill, which, of course, that's also a blanket statement, which I don't love doing.
I'm like, what's the size of the house?
What's the size of the house? How many people live there? Yeah. But to your point on your own home, it's significantly higher than it was last year for the same size home and the same usage. So they've been thinking about going solar, and that was actually one of their things. It's like, we're really not sure how much longer we're going to be in the home. Well, if the answer to that is even 3 years, that $1,300 utility bill is going to keep going up over those 3 years. And so I think that what you just shared may give some people the comfort to say, hey, I want to go ahead and lock in my utility rate because I'm cool selling off the panels with part of the home at closing, and being able to just give free energy to the seller when they move in actually makes the home attractive.
And it not only makes the home more attractive to the buyers, which is a key point, but anytime you're going to sell your property, you've got to be attractive to the buyers in the marketplace and the appraisers. And so, if the appraiser is the security blanket for the buyers to collect the funds to buy your home, if you will, then you absolutely need to make sure that you've got both pieces to that puzzle. You can attract the buyers all day long, but if that appraiser is the showstopper at the end, well, we've got issues. And there's another showstopper when you have solar panels on the home. So after you close, that's what people are seeing as another showstopper. These solar companies and the buyer being able to assume or take over the rest of that note. And so really just eliminate it altogether. You guys add the additional value to your home and pay it off at closing. It makes sense for some families. It doesn't for others, and it's one of those things where that's where you also probably need to just seek out a professional. RKG Roofing, Construction, and Solar, they are the guys that 100% have been working with my clients in the solar field, and really getting these guys taken care of down to a T. So we're super grateful to have them behind us. But I would say if you can just pay it off all in one, if it makes sense, right, get with your solar professional. But if it makes sense, then that's 100% what I would do. Pay it off the day of closing, offer the buyers the free solar, know the appraiser is going to give you the added value for free utilities coming with the home, and then make sure that your family is fed and warm during the next winter freeze that comes unexpectedly, or the next rolling blackout they are currently happening. So.
Yeah. And then, guys, there's also another question that we get all the time is about the tax credit. They did just raise that to 30%. So that's really nice for some people that are looking for, and that's another priority some people have with solar, is, hey, I need to move some of my tax liability, and I would just rather put that back into the equity in my home than I would give it to the government. So here we are. That's another really beautiful feature of it. And the great thing, guys, is we're able to, I don't like doing blanket statements over solar. I love what Amanda said, just to revisit one more thing, because it just jumped in my mind, is like, how do we not drive that home? But what you said is it makes sense to install a pool in some areas. Now, if I live in a neighborhood and I'm the only one with a pool, it may not be adding a ton of value to the home.
That's absolutely correct. And that is not necessarily the same with the solar. The way that it would make sense for the appraiser to give you equity for solar on your home is if it's actually producing and offsetting. The way it doesn't make sense, and you don't owe on it. That's where you get the most.
Yeah.
So that's where you get the most equity from the appraiser for the home to go through the loan, right?
Yeah.
The appraiser doesn't matter if somebody's willing to pay cash, but you're usually likely taking less in cash than you are to take the risk with the appraiser, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So it's very similar, and I'm trying not to lose you guys. Very similar is like not only does the location make sense, but only in the sense of how much is it providing to your panels. Do you have trees covering it all? Is it on the wrong side of the roof? Is it on a side of the roof that doesn't look attractive? Your very front angle, buyers see that. Appraisers subtract for curb appeal. That is a real thing. It's not a made-up thing. So if you're out there with brown grass, correct it. You're lowering the value of everybody's home around you. And so do just make sure that you're cautious of that. If you don't think it looks pretty, the person next to you probably also doesn't feel like it looks pretty, which does decrease the value of the home.
Yeah, that is this. This was all such great information. And guys, I guess to wrap this up, the best way for us to tell you the truth about solar is to look at your usage and plug it into our software. Our software is able to show you the shading on the roof. It's able to tell us how much sunlight you get. We're able to take your family's exact usage, build a mock proposal, show you the different options on where it could actually be installed on your home and or on your property, whether you have an additional building, whether you have a patio cover, a pergola. So, solar panels, we can get creative with the placement on them. And that's why I always say, well, it depends. Well, it depends. Well, it depends. And that's why is because if I'm going to take your time to tell you the truth about solar, I want to make sure we're talking about real numbers and real data that you're actually able to take and make a data-driven decision with for your home, because it is your largest investment. And the other thing that we want, guys, is that we don't want those of you that could benefit from solar to be scared away from at least looking at the options. It's free to get a free energy savings report through my company and most other ones. We're also happy to review other companies for you in the deal that you have. I've actually told people before, you know what, that's a great deal. I think that you should sign it. I love looking through, just making sure that we're getting tier 1 panels, we have micro inverters, and that we're putting together a system that has a great warranty for the customer. And as long as that's the case, it doesn't really matter to me what solar company you necessarily go with. I'm thrilled to see it popping up all around DFW because I do believe in the sustainability and us as a community being able to protect ourselves and our families long term by being the producer and not just the consumer of our utility costs. And if that's something that you feel passionate about saying, you know what, I'm gonna jump outside of the fear and just see what this looks like for me. That's what we specialize in doing at my company. Is we're really just here to educate. Solar is an add-on to our main company. We primarily specialize up until this point in roofing and restorations. And because it ties so beautifully in with what we did a year ago, we did also start to offer solar, installing the best panels with the best crews, with the best warranties around DFW so that we can be a part. And I don't need everybody out there's business. I need everybody to know what she just said. I need everybody in Texas, and in fact the country, to hear what Amanda just said.
Yeah.
But I don't need to install all of those. I just wanted to be a small piece of the solution that our community does desperately need. And right now, solar is a really great solution. Amanda, before we jump off here, did you tell me that they recently added solar to Trek, added it to the real estate contract? And what does that mean and look like?
I did. Yep. And they did, you guys. So that's actually part of what moved the needle for me, to really just pull the trigger and dive deeper on educating myself so I could educate you guys, was back at the beginning of, or end of 2021, beginning of 2022, somewhere in that time frame. Shucks, it could have been beginning of 2021, actually, now that I think about it. Recently, within the last 2 years, the Texas Real Estate Board of Commissions, which is a panel full of, there are 13 executives, if you will, on this panel. You've got 7 attorneys and 6 real estate agents. And so with those 13 people, what they do is they come together and they revisit all of our real estate contracts, legally binding agreements, all of the things. So the form is never the same as it was before, right? One of the main changes they made on page 1 of our real estate residential 1 to 4 contracts is solar. They added an entire section down at the bottom of page 1 that goes into detail on leasing solar. And the truth is like you only need to use page 1 of that if you're going to continue to lease the solar with the next buyer. So it starts to get kind of sticky in there, but it was as soon as these guys added solar to the Texas contracts, I knew solar was coming in hot and heavy. These guys are great at being proactive. So when they make a move, I'm right behind them. Dude, I've got to be one of the first ones in there. That's not going by unnoticed. So Amanda noticed the contract change. Amanda jumped on board with solar, grabbed Kimba Garcia as quick as she could because she knew this lady had been diving headfirst into it for a while. And that's where I came to pretty much partner with RKG and say, hey, please help me help my clients. And she said, absolutely, girl. So
I said, help me help my clients back.
Yeah. So here we are together, just helping one person to another. It's kind of what we do in all of our businesses is help everybody. But the cool part with this is like if you're in Texas and you're in the Metroplex, which is where the Amanda Bell Realty Group specializes, man, ring the bell because I'm totally happy to sit down with you and your utility bill once you get your proposal in and tell you if that's something that makes sense for your home or not. And I know these guys will too, but if you're worried about the equity and the offset and the things that are going to come up when you sell it, hold my hand to the fire, dude. Let me help you get the solar on your home if it makes sense, because I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. And then when you go to sell the home, I'm going to make sure you get that and some. I'm not going to say something that I can't back up. So I'm going to tell you 110% if it makes sense or if you're taking a risk. And at the end of the day, it's up to you to make the decision.
Which I just absolutely love. And guys, if you want to get a little bit more on the truth about solar, how some of this works, I did write a short ebook. I published it to our website. You can find that at www.rkgroofingandconstruction.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. Submit your email in. As soon as you submit in your email, you're going to automatically get that auto email over. That is our free ebook on the truth about solar that I wrote to just continue to educate people on sustainable, clean power, being able to lock in their energy rates for the long term and be able to just get the information out in a world where we do still have a little bit of misinformation to homeowners who are interested in seeing, again, not in going solar because it may not be for you. So I hate to say homeowners that are interested in solar because you don't know if you're interested in solar until you look at a proposal for your home on your roof and you're able to really sit down and see some data and some options. So that's what we specialize in. You can also, if you just want to say, hey, I'm ready to see what that looks like, I encourage that. It's one of those things where there's a lot more to talk about when there's some numbers to talk about, right? So you can literally just shoot a PDF of your electric bill into our team at solar@rkgmail.com, okay? solar@rkgmail.com. I want you to just type in there and say, hey, I saw Kimba and Amanda's video. I want to get a free energy savings report on my home. We will make sure that you are taken care of. And if you need a conversation with Amanda around equity or anything like that, my team of admins can also get you guys on her calendar to speak to her directly, because we both do feel very passionate about our communities. That's one of the things Amanda and I get up in both of our companies, in the roofing restoration, in the solar space, and the real estate space. We wake up every day just passionate and ready to help serve our communities when it comes to their homes. Yeah. And solar is another way that we can help you guys add value and sustainability to your home. And that's why we wanted to come here and do this video for you guys today. We're very grateful that you jumped in and chose us to find out the truth about solar. And if you have any other questions, feel free to comment them, to email my team, again, solar@rkgmail.com. Send in your utility bill that just has that little 12 months of usage graph on it. That's what I'm looking for, is that 12 months of usage, so that we can build the most accurate proposal possible and we can tell you the truth about your solar specifically. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.